many people try switching to Linux every year. Some of them actually become Linux enthusiasts or at least happy Linux users, but others fail miserably and return to Windows. At first, it's even hard to say why. They've chosen the right distribution, correctly set up a dual boot system, memorized basic terminal commands, studied the structure of the Unix file system, maybe even, and watched all the tutorials on YouTube, and yet somehow they still went back to daily driving Windows. And the answer is simple. Linux falls behind Windows when it comes to hardware support and software compatibility. Many popular Windows apps have no proper alternative on Linux, and as a result, people with different hobbies often have to basically reinvent their workflow from scratch. To make the learning curve less steep and the transition more gradual, people often decide to keep their existing Windows installation intact and learn Linux at their own pace, which eventually leads to failure. And this is the slippery slope of dual booting. Some users may also believe that Linux is inherently more complex than Windows, so instead of even attempting to take a deep dive into the system, people will try to follow the path of least resistance by making the transition less costly and less scary by providing a safety net of familiarity. I believe this phenomenon might be linked to certain sense and psychological concepts such as the comfort of familiarity and the fear of change, but most importantly, the perceived cost of switching, which we discussed in the previous video on this topic. Rather than completely abandoning Windows, people start by dual booting or even using a virtual machine to run Linux alongside existing Windows installation, which kind of allows them to dip their toes into the Linux ecosystem while still maintaining the comfort and familiarity of using Windows on their PCs. This approach seems wise and therefore appealing because it reduces the perceived cost of switching, but in reality is a form of procrastination as it allows users to indefinitely delay committing to Linux due to the perceived risks and uncertainties associated with it. But at the same time, users who are accustomed to Windows may find it way easier to resolve issues within an environment. If they encounter a problem in Linux, the instinct will be 100% to be reboot back to Windows, where they feel more comfortable and confident. Hey, if a video game has weird audio issues like a crackling sound, or if it crashes randomly after a couple of hours of gameplay, it might take a while to localize and fix the problem on Linux, while on Windows, the problem itself might not even appear at all. Linux can totally will present some technical challenges that require a deeper understanding of the system. Newcomers will be overwhelmed by the need to troubleshoot things, and believe me, the inconvenience and fear of data loss will eventually drive them back to Windows. While dual booting might seem like a nice pathway to explore Linux, it is basically a large safety net that sometimes encourages users to retreat to Windows when faced with those challenges. So, in order to switch to Linux successfully, you need to restructure your life. If you think about it, switching to Linux is not that different from going to the gym, something I'm not good at. A bit intimidating at first, maybe even a lot intimidating, sure, but with enough persistence, support, and the community wisdom contained in the Arch wiki, you'll wonder why you didn't start sooner. Now, I don't go to the gym often, but my wife, the article, by the way, is by the Reluctant Anarchist. My wife and I love swimming. We drive to the swimming pool at least once every single week, but no matter how much we love swimming, we would 100% miss our training if we were to prepare our bags right before the next session. In order to enjoy the relaxation that water brings, we have to pack our fins and goggles literally the same day as we return home, as soon as they have dried out. I repeat, we prepare our backpacks multiple days before the next swimming session and keep them right at the front door in order not to miss the training. Why? Because if we had to pack our bags 2 hours before the session, we would never be able to find the energy and motivation to do it. And the same applies to Linux. By the way, this is day 1 of the advent of Nico, where I publish one video each day with a goal of reaching 4,000 paid subscribers by Christmas. The context is that I decided to quit my job to do videos, and this means that I now need this magic thing called revenue to pay for rent and such. Luckily, I already have 96 subscribers amongst Patreon, LibraPay, Ko-Fi, and my new website, thelibra.news, where you can, by the way, read this video as an article. To those people, by the way, thank you so much. You're the only reason this video and all others exist, because I don't do sponsors right now. So please help us break even and continue doing videos if you can. Back to the video, as I was saying, the same applies to switching to Linux. In order to successfully make a switch, you need to restructure your life in such a way that switching to Linux would require less effort and will become easier than staying on Windows. Just like my wife and I have to pack our bags ahead of our next training, you will have to create routines and habits that will stop you from spending too much time on Windows. If you need to reduce the time you're spending on it, just remove the dual boot partition at all and install Windows, yes, but on a separate SSDs if you have one, and then simply disconnect it from your PC and put it in the closet. So every time you need to boot into Windows in order to play a video game that requires troubleshooting on Linux, you would have to open your computer case and plug in the SSD back to the motherboard, or just plug into the laptop. It's not a daunting task if you think about it, plugging it back will only take a few minutes, but it will be inconvenient enough to stop you from impulsively doing it, which means that you won't see this as a viable option right away. And by doing this, you will quickly reduce the amount of time you spend on Windows every week simply by making it more difficult and inconvenient. Now, this might sound ridiculous, but for many, it is a necessary step. The truth is, switching is art, it will always be, and ditching your familiar Windows routines is difficult. In order to succeed, you have to embrace the unknown and believe in yourself that you will eventually figure it out. The best way to learn how to install and use Linux, by the way, is to actually use it every day for an extensive period of time, maybe do an advent of Linux. First, you have to reinvent your daily workflow. Start by writing down your tasks and the list of applications that you rely on the most on Windows, and look for alternatives available on Linux. You can replace Microsoft Office with LibreOffice, Adobe Photoshop with GIMP and Krita, and Inkscape. If you're editing videos with Windows in Adobe Premiere, learn a different nonlinear editor that is available on Linux, like Blackmagic's DaVinci Resolve, or even just Kdenlive. It works great. Sadly, there is no proper Adobe Lightroom alternative that can compete with it feature to feature, but in that case you can reinvent your whole creative pipeline in Raw, Therapy, or Darktable. I've used both, they just work. If your work involves specific tasks, consider distribution tailored for those needs. The main goal here is to help you maintain the same level of comfort and productivity as you transition from Windows to Linux. While some applications may have different UIs, they often offer similar features. And that is only half of the problem. You would also need a ton of practice. If you want to become a power user, practice managing drives and file systems. If you want to become, as an example, a Linux server administrator, practice managing servers. Practice writing simple shell scripts. Practice configuring networks from the command line, starting and stopping systemd services, changing firewall rules. Learn how to troubleshoot things, how to deal with minor inconveniences, and how to fix an unbootable system. Figure out when to upgrade and what packages to upgrade first, maybe. It's your job to maintain your own system, and your particular distro of choice is going to be as stable as you want it to be. And finally, don't be afraid of seeking community support. Google your issues on Reddit, watch YouTube tutorials, and ask on forums for guidance. Predicting and solving problems before they appear is also essential for maintaining your system's stability. To achieve this, it's important to understand the potential risks, learn how to protect your data, and implement measures to make your system more redundant. While it can be challenging to anticipate every possible issue, it's realistic to expect that you'll need to respond to some problems like hardware failures, human errors, and malicious attacks. Like that happens all of the time. You need to develop a routine for backing up your data and restoring it when needed. The upshot is, in order to succeed at switching to Linux, you have to overcome the fear of change and cultivate a specific mindset that is necessary to learn a completely new operating system. Gradual exploration with live sessions and virtual machines and dual booting will never get you the same result as just taking a deep dive. Embrace the change and view it as an opportunity to learn and grow. Identify your essential applications, reinvent your workflow by reducing your dependency on them, familiarize yourself with the new desktop environment and terminal commands. And have fun. If you've been using Windows for your whole life, chances are that it has the appealing convenience of familiarity, let's say, which will try to stop you from investing your time and effort into resolving problems on Linux. Resist that, experiment, customize, and don't forget to restructure your life in order to create habits that will help you break up with Windows for good. And by the way, it's so much better over here. I swear to God, this is unscripted. Every time I have to interact with Windows to do like presentations and such in some public event, every time there's that little Linux feature that saves my day on Linux and that I don't have there. And I don't know, like how to keep the screen on instead of blanking out after a few minutes. On Linux, it's just click. On Windows, I spent 5 minutes trying to do that last time and I still don't know how to. So yeah. And by the way, this is a collaboration with the Reluctant Anarchist. So check out his channel as well. And see you tomorrow.